YouTube. Okay, sweet. I think we are live here. Welcome everybody to a, usually we never do this on the weekdays, for the most part, solo dolo, but luckily, Brad and Pete have donated their time, which I do appreciate you guys for hopping on, to talk more about this huge breaking news. Of course, we're going to talk about the Damian Lillard trade and the implications of it, grade reactions. I mean, we're going to talk about the whole shebang, as soon as we do a little bit of this introduction and let a little bit time pass, so people can hop in. But how are you guys doing, man? How are you feeling about this trade right now?
I'm so happy. I'm so happy we're talking about basketball again, and it's not just the same stuff. We got new basketball, guys. It's so exciting.
It's been such a dry off season. We needed this. Like, this really was, man. I've been glued to my phone all day, just looking at articles and like hypothesizing in my head about how this is going to look. I can't wait.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we're probably tired, or maybe we're not tired of talking about LeBron versus Jordan for 500 times in a row. But I think we are tired of that, and we are going to talk so much more about the Damian Lillard stuff. So let me quickly move over to the next screen, and we're going to talk about the trade right now. Like we said earlier, this is breaking news that happened obviously during my lunch break, and I was able to put out just a quick little video talking about it, just for the most part. But if you guys don't know, Damian Lillard has officially been traded, or if you live under a rock, Damian Lillard has been traded to the Milwaukee Bucks. And this was a 3-team trade with the Phoenix Suns, the Blazers, as well. So again, the Bucks do get Damian Lillard. The Blazers receive Drew Holiday, DeAndre Ayton, Kamara, a 2029 first-round pick, 2 swap picks for the Blazers, while the Suns receive Yusuf Nurkic, Grayson Allen, Nazir Little, and Keon Johnson. So we kind of read the trade, and I don't know about you guys, I've kind of had a little more time to digest it. I know, Brad, you talked about hypothesizing it, and probably dissecting it a lot more than if we just did an instant reaction video. But I kind of want to get your guys' instant reaction. Get your instant reaction to this thing, to the Damian Lillard trade, and then maybe we can go more into, now that some time has passed and we've kind of thought about it a little bit more, figuring out like who wins this trade, who loses. So who wants to start this off for us?
Brad, go for it.
I mean, yeah, I'll go. I screamed when I saw that trade. Like, I looked at my phone and I saw the notification, and I literally out loud, I was like, oh my God, like, this is crazy. Like, instant reaction. Oh, go ahead.
Is it the most shocking trade of the last few years? I was thinking about this earlier. Like the Rudy one, I think is shocking for the mere fact, like, we knew that was coming, right? To some extent. I don't think we knew the specifics of it were going to be that crazy. But I'm trying to think, like, the KD one was pretty crazy, but it took so long to get there. I don't know. This one is kind of surprising, more so than anything. Yeah, that's a good point.
Kawhi one was surprising.
Yeah.
That's a good point, for sure. I think the one that always gets me is, if I remember correctly, the PG trade. The Paul George trade to the Clippers, like it kind of felt like it might be coming, but it also just, that one felt like it was completely out of nowhere. But yeah, I don't know. This is definitely in the running for like one of the most shocking trades in recent history. That is for sure.
I totally agree. Yeah, I'd say the PG trade was up there too. I remember coming home, seeing that, and I was like, "What the heck is going on here?" Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, just seeing the trade, I thought they were instant, title favorites, like, right away. Dame and Giannis, I don't know how you guard that. Good luck.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely interesting, especially looking at kind of the pieces that moved around. And I could just kind of quickly just talk about just some instant reactions that I had. I thought the Phoenix Suns, it was kind of a... like, they finally got rid of DeAndre Ayton, because I think the thing that gets forgotten, other than, because obviously Damian Lillard's the bigger player in this whole trade, and so obviously we'll talk about him more. But I think the thing that gets kind of lost in here is that we got to talk, and we'll probably talk about it. I know, Brad, you were in the group chat just absolutely roasting a certain GM in the chat.
Man.
But, it was kind of just an instant, like, it's crazy to think that saga of the whole Ayton thing in Phoenix is finally over. We know that he had beef with Monty Williams, and there was just a bunch of stuff in the background we probably don't even know about. But at the end of the day, that is something that we'll definitely have to really talk about and really hone in on, because I just think from a perspective of the talent you gave, or the talent you gave away to the stuff that you got back. I mean, we got to talk about more so for them. Was this probably one of the worst trades that they could have made? And we'll get into that in a little bit. But like, just from the Portland side of things, I think it does help them tremendously. And I think, honestly, guys, I do find this package a lot better than the Miami Heat package. I know that we are big on Jovic. I'm big on Jaime Jaquez. And there's like a bunch of other pieces and things that could have gotten traded to Portland. But still, I think that the stuff that the Trailblazers got, actually, in my opinion, is a little bit better than what they would have gotten in the Miami Heat package. Just because I think either Pete or Brad, you were talking about kind of the leverage that the Miami Heat had at the time, because that was the only team that Lillard wanted to go to. It wasn't, or at least that's what he said publicly, and that's what his agent made it seem like. And so that was kind of.
I mean, and ultimately, that's the biggest gamble of this whole offseason, right? Miami made the biggest gamble of anybody. They basically said, we don't need to do anything. We don't even need to worry about it. This is a done deal. It's a given, right? And it clearly wasn't, right? This was the ultimate, this was the checkmate for anybody in the league. And the problem is, not enough teams do stuff like this. This is kind of one of my biggest gripes with the league. I mean, one of the things I talked about this offseason coming into free agency was like, why are no teams going to offer Austin Reeves a contract? Like, if not to actually sign him, just to make the Lakers pay more, right? Like, you have to, the competitiveness of this sport does not exist only on the court, right? And I think that gets lost on a lot of people. And especially the business side of it. This is like one of the greatest trades for that part of basketball in a long time. Like, the inner workings of this trade are super interesting, how it got here and really how it manifested, because I think the thing I'm the most curious about is how into Dame in this trade have the Bucks been this offseason. They're like a team that none of us had ever heard any rumors about, really. So I find it really interesting, like, maybe all that talk about the Raptors, maybe, there was all that talk about, what was the other team? It was the Raptors and Chicago this last week, right? Like,
and Philly,
and Philly too. Maybe this was just like, you know what? Screw it. Let's just go out there and get this guy. And, the funny part, I've been thinking about this since we stopped texting each other earlier. Like, I think it's kind of ironic that Miami, in a kind of a twisted sense, is their own worst enemy, not only directly by not just making a better offer, right? But also the fact that Jimmy cooked Drew so bad in that series. Like, that is kind of the cosmic destiny of this trade. Jimmy murdered Drew Holiday for 5 games, whatever they played. It's probably the worst defense I've seen Drew Holiday play ever. Like, I guess maybe in the last 5 years. So the fact that the Bucks were even willing to deal Drew, I think kind of stems back to Miami. Do you guys think I'm crazy for that? I think it's kind of interesting. Like, in retrospect, like, that was the last time we saw Drew play in a Milwaukee Bucks uniform.
No, you're right. I think that might have played a part in it for sure. And I mean, Drew, he was also talking about like, oh, I want to retire soon. Like, he didn't know how his future was going to look. So for the Bucks, when Giannis is like putting things out in the media about I'm a winner before I'm a Buck and all that, they kind of just looked at it and were like, well, we want to keep Giannis. So bye, Drew.
Yeah. I mean, that had to play into it. They had to be willing, because, like, realistically, like, Drew was still, I mean, a top 5, 6, 7 defender in the league last season for the bulk of the season, until that Jimmy Butler series, that Heat series where they lost, right? I actually find it really interesting that it was Drew was the one to go instead of Chris Middleton. And I don't know if we want to get into that now, but of all the guys on the Bucks that I kind of foresaw maybe not being around much longer for them, it was Chris. It wasn't going to be Drew Holiday. He was too critical on defense, and just the fact that he's not really a shot taker, in the sense that he's not chucking up shots like a D'Lo or anybody like that. He's not eating up minutes from Giannis, not minutes, but just possessions and touches, right? So it's interesting to me that they actually did. What do you mean?
on Drew eating up shots in the playoffs. He's
sure,
like,
he did. Yeah,
yeah.
But I think that maybe that's part of it too. Like he did more so than he should have, right? In that series, he was
Yeah.
awful, like all around.
Yeah.
So, how do we want to do it? Do you guys want to go like team by team and just break down how we think each team did, or
Yeah, kind of. Let's do that, and then
let's go for it.
just give a grade. I mean,
Let's do it.
I finished work, which is we're gonna school. So hey, let's just give more grades out. Why not?
Start throwing these grades out. Let's start with Milwaukee, just because they have the least gained from this trade, not in terms of
pieces,
like talent, but just pieces, right? I'll be straight up with you guys. I think they won this trade. Of all the teams in it, I think they are the best afterwards. Like this is an incredible trade for them. Giannis has never played with a shot creator like Dame. And the fact that you have two guys at any given time who are going to demand double teams or could demand double teams on any given night is devastating.
Ridiculous.
And the craziest part about this, Brad, and I don't know if you're going to agree with me, maybe I'm on an island with this, but they're kind of a better version of Phoenix in the sense that, like, this is kind of what maybe they were thinking Devin Booker and Kevin Durant were, right? Or could be as a unit in terms of, like, their offensive game and who they surrounded those guys with. So it's interesting they're involved with this trade. But I actually think that, like, as a dynamic duo of players, I'm taking Dame and Giannis over KD and Booker any day. Am I crazy for that?
No, I'm with you. I'm
it's
with
similar.
you on that island. Yeah, I mean, just think about it. Just how do you stop a Dame and Giannis pick and roll? Like, if Giannis comes out and he rolls, you have to collapse. You have to blitz Dame at half court because he's gonna pull. So there's just no way to guard that. Like, and then you have Middleton in a corner. You have Pat Connaughton or Malik Beasley in another wing. Like, it's
Brooke Lopez, like
Brooke in the dunker spot. It's unfair, bro. It's unfair.
Yeah. You can put literally just 4 knockdown shooters out on the court with Giannis at any given time with this trade, and it's kind of crazy because I actually still think they should consider moving on from Middleton, but they don't even need to think about it anymore. That's the craziest part about this trade. It almost doesn't matter who's in that spot like it does for a lot of other teams. Like this team could probably score like 125 a game. That's pretty nuts. Like, we thought Sacramento was crazy last season. I think this team is going to give them a run for their money because the inside-outside game is just... There's no defending it with this current Milwaukee Bucks roster. What about you, Bernie? What are you thinking about the Bucks?
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple of ways or a couple avenues that I want to take this question or kind of take this talking about the Bucks. I mean, the big thing, like you guys talked about, it's another running mate for Giannis and the Bucks, who, I don't know if you guys looked at the stats about their team, but it was one of the worst half-court offensive teams you've ever seen in terms of like what they needed to do. And I know some of it might be down to the coaching from Coach Bud from Budenholzer.
ETE Bud. Yes.
But it also is down to like the players that they have. I mean, with Middleton hurt most of the year, like they couldn't get any offense from him and he was inconsistent in the lineup. Drew Holiday, he's not as prolific as a scorer as he once was earlier in his career, more of a defender, more of a stopper. And so it was tough for Giannis to get open looks, and teams were doing a great job. The Miami Heat being one of those teams to really neutralize Giannis. And it ended up, I think that's what ended up hurting Giannis in the end in terms of his back injury, other than, obviously he had to do some crazy things. He had to be more athletic and more, superstar-esque in order to beat this team, and he hurt himself in the process. It's kind of the same thing we talked about with the Lakers, Brad. Of adding those pieces so AD doesn't have to go superhero and heroic and overwork his body. I think it's kind of the same thing for the Bucks here. The other thing too, I don't know if you guys picked up on this at all, but you remember the comments that Giannis made about definitely playing somewhere else for a title contender?
Yes.
Similarly to his first contract extension, he did the exact same thing. And you know what player they brought in?
Drew Holiday.
So Giannis, we have to give some props to Giannis. GM Giannis,
I love it, man.
GM Giannis, he's learning from the best from LeBron James. He's learning to use the leverage to force this team to get him a superstar, because I was thinking it too, a little bit afterwards, instant reactions like, oh my God, like Giannis and and Lillard. They're going to be the most dynamic duo, but more from like a back perspective, you know, kind of the backstory, the things that kind of creep up. To me, this was a huge gutsy play from the Bucks because obviously, like you said, Pete, like they called the Blazers bluff or Lillard's bluff too, about only wanting to play in Miami. But really, we have to tip our hat off to Giannis. Giannis was able to get himself a superstar mate by kind of doing the similar tactics he did with his first contract extension, and you know you can't blame him because it proved the result, right? He got the guy that he wanted to be with him, because otherwise we know he would have left. Like, I don't think there's any ifs, ands, or buts that this guy would leave. And so that is kind of the avenue that I wanted to take. That do you guys agree with me or disagree with me on that, or anything to add on that side of things for this trade?
It's not even a question. I mean, this dude, this is almost like one of those rare fleecing of his own team. Like, he literally pressured these guys into making this trade. These new owners.
Mm-hmm.
What's his name? Mark Lazary, I think maybe is his name, or maybe he was the old owner. Regardless,
Camp Laszlo.
He pressed these guys. You know, there was no bluffing going on. It was very literal, and I think that this is one of those interesting situations where we're witnessing maybe a new model going forward, right? And hear me out. A lot of these situations, a lot of these players, disgruntled players, right?
Mm-hmm.
It tends to, especially with the American guys, and I'm not saying this has anything to do with the European versus American guys, but it does tend to be the American guys. Most of them, if they were or are in a similar situation to Giannis, it basically boils down to get me out of here right now. I don't care what you do, get me out of here. But Giannis reversed his leverage, and instead of doing that, which he kind of did, but he wasn't saying get me out of here. He's saying I'm leaving unless you fix it, right? Which, it sounds pretty straightforward, but not enough guys do that, right? And especially in these small market towns, these guys who get drafted by these teams where they would never have gone otherwise, right? It's almost like what the Heat were trying to do to the Trailblazers, in the sense that they're using big city leverage on a small market, right? He's literally doing that, but as a player. He's saying, you guys are going to lose me. I'm not staying here. Go get me another guy and make this a superstar-driven team in this city, or you're going to end up like all these other small market teams, watching a big star just walk away for nothing, right? And it worked. It worked. And I think that that's something to be considered, right? Because it happens similarly, but it doesn't really come down to as direct of like a demand as Giannis made in this situation. And I'm interested to see if guys are going to do that in the future. Like, we didn't really see Luka did do that publicly last year, but it was kind of written in the, you know, subtext of the whole Kyrie trade, right? Like, they need to get me somebody.
Yeah.
But he didn't do it the way Giannis did it. And I'm curious if we're going to find out, like, Giannis really wanted Dame in particular. Like, Bernie, you implied that. I don't know that to be true. We didn't hear anything about it, really. I'm super curious. Is Dame like, I want Dame right now? You know? Like, I don't care.
I think they've been like flirting with each other, for lack of a better word. Yeah, for a couple of years. Chris Haynes tweeted earlier, he was like, in a Fresno barbershop called Phase 2 a few months ago, Giannis Antetokounmpo was asked of the one player he would like to play with, and his response was Damian Lillard. And then Dame is super active on Twitter too, and I think in like 2021 they asked him who's the one player you would want to play with and in Portland, and he said Giannis. So they've been trying to play with each other just on the teams that they were on, and it looks like Giannis won that.
There it is. And instead of saying get me out of this team so I can go play with Dame somewhere else, he said you go get him now or you're going to see me walk. And that's I mean, that's got to be preferable to cities like Milwaukee. Like, at the end of the day, that is better than seeing your superstars walk away. It is.
Oh, absolutely. They didn't want another Kareem in LA situation.
100%. 100%.
Yeah.
So I'm just curious to see if more guys take this route, you know? Like, because by the sounds of it, what you just said, Brad, I mean, there must have been serious behind the scenes. Like, you know, I made those public demands, but behind closed doors, it better be Dame. Go do it now. You know?
Yeah.
Which is, I mean, that's sick. You know, I love that. That's using your leverage in a way that actually, like, maybe this is just the old head in me. Like that commands respect more than just saying, you know what, it'll never work here. Get me out right now. So I don't know. Maybe I'm off base with that, but Milwaukee definitely gets an A in my book because I mean, for all the talk about Dame being old, like a little older and on that big contract, I mean, Drew is a little older too, and his contract isn't super small either. So I
Yeah.
really like it.
Yeah,
I agree. I give them an A too,
Mhm.
especially since just for making the trade, they probably, like this is the second time, like you said, Bernie, that Giannis has, pressured the front office and then they've made a move to get him somebody they want. So they've probably bought themselves some leeway if down the line things aren't going so well. Like Giannis knows, okay, I can trust these guys. They've already come through for me twice.
Yeah.
Sure. And they dramatically weakened one of their biggest rivals in the East to a team that eliminated them last season. So
Absolutely.
I mean,
yeah, that is
not only just
beautiful.
individually, yeah, like within their own organization, it was like a double kill two birds with one stone type situation.
Did you guys see the report that the Blazers didn't even like go back to Miami for a final offer after getting the Bucks offer?
Well, why would they have? Because honestly, the way it seemed like Miami was playing hardball, they probably would have just said, "Okay, good luck. Let's see it."
Yeah.
I mean, it's probably like we talked about. Miami's also calling their bluff too. They're like, I'm sure they probably, to some extent, I'm sure somebody in the front office talked to the Bucks and just kind of said, "Hey, like this, we have an offer. If you want it, like if you want to make a move, it's there." And I'm sure Pat Riley just left it on red or, didn't even answer the phone at that point.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, he's like, Dame will be here soon. They'll trade him here.
Yeah. Well, let me ask you guys. Of Pat Riley's two biggest flubs as a genius level GM in the league and president of basketball operations, I would argue, I think I know the answer to this, but his two worst flubs of all time are this and just watching LeBron leave, right, in 2016.
Oh my goodness. Yeah.
I mean, which one's worse? I think it's probably the LeBron one, but honestly, that one was, I would argue, harder to predict than this was. Like the writing was on the wall that LeBron kind of wanted to go back to Cleveland, but also it was even more so.
Out too. Pat was like, "This is me, like not you."
Yeah.
And it was LeBron.
Yeah. So that's the only reason I think there's actually room for discussion. Like this might be a bigger flub just because the LeBron one was a little too far gone by the time Pat even had room to like try and do anything. Like this is literally just a flub. Like he really just dropped the ball on this one.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, I'm interested. We could talk about it later, but I think that Heat are going to do something crazy now because they kind of have to.
Yeah, they have to. We got to come back to them though.
Yeah, I think we should definitely come back to them on the weekend when we do our show. But I think the biggest thing for me is like the Miami Heat have always been in these conversations for the longest time, and the only successful one that they've ever had in what seems like a while is probably the Jimmy Butler. But I think like superstar S, like kind of like blockbuster, like everybody's like talking about it. They haven't really done it, and
I mean, and didn't Jimmy want to go to Miami? Like he chose them, right? And
he
facilitated a sign and trade. Okay, yeah.
But even then, he actually, I mean, we know now he really wanted to stay in Philly. They just chose Tobias Harris. I mean, he let us know that very loud. So
yeah,
I mean, there's actual like audio showing him say, "I don't want to," I would rather have stayed in Philly. So maybe they wouldn't even have got him if Philly hadn't screwed that up. So it might even be worse than you're implying, Bernie.
Yeah,
they might really just have gotten lucky with that one.
Yeah, we'll definitely have to talk about that on the weekend. I think that's definitely a good talking point there. But just to kind of wrap this part up of it, like you guys said, I mean the Bucks get an A. I mean if we're doing the plus system, which they don't really do anymore, but I mean it's A plus for sure. I mean
that's an A plus.
You're bringing in a superstar player. You got the best player in the trade. It gives you an A plus. So
yeah,
Bucks. They get an A.
Yeah, you were maybe the best team in the league. You're definitely the best team in the league. It's a pretty good trade. It's a pretty good trade.
Yeah.
Pretty good trade. Let's go to Phoenix because honestly, I'm ready to just let these guys have it.
Let me pull up an Aiton picture, but you go ahead, Pete.
I am ready to just let these guys have it. I mean, honestly, before I get too far, I just have to address this on Bleacher Report. I'm just going to shoot shots right here. Andy Bailey, the writer, a writer for Bleacher Report, gave this an A for the old Phoenix Suns. Andy Bailey, I don't know if you've watched Yusuf Nurkic play in the last 4 years, buddy, but this is a god-awful trade. I genuinely don't understand it, guys. I mean, this is asinine. Like, this is malpractice by the Phoenix Suns as far as I'm concerned. You added very little in the way of direct help to your team. Nurkic will not be the starter for this team come playoffs if they're there, which by all accounts they will be there, right? There's no way Nurkic is guarding any of those centers in the Western Conference. It isn't feasible for him to do so. He just does not have the level of foot speed. He doesn't have any athleticism at this point in his career, and really, he's a minus on offense too. So I'm really confused because honestly, Grayson Allen doesn't add much to the team. Maybe just a little wing depth, some defense, maybe. Nas Little. I mean, but even then, who's giving up shots for Grayson Allen, Bernie? You're playing on a team with Devin Booker and Kevin Durant. You're gonna give up shot. And Bradley Beal. You're gonna give up shots for Grayson Allen?
You're not giving up shots.
He's just spacing.
He's a nothing on this team. Nas Little is the best person they got in this trade, in my opinion.
Agreed. Absolutely. Yeah.
I would actually say pretty handily he's the best person in this trade, and even then, I mean, he's a small ball 5, right? But he's really a 4, so he plays the same spot as Kevin Durant. So he's a backup. The best thing they got in this trade is like a 6th or 7th man on this team, and they got rid of easily the best player as far as anything they were touching in this trade is DeAndre Ayton. Whatever you think of Ayton, that it's mind bending to think anybody could watch Nurkic play and think that he's better than Ayton. I just don't even get it. Like, are people this out on Ayton as a player, or was the Monty stuff part of his chemistry problems? Maybe Kevin Durant and Devin Booker really just didn't like this dude either. I mean, that seems like the only explanation to me. Am I crazy for that?
I think that's a part of it. I think James Jones also was like super low on him because, he didn't even want to offer him that contract. Oh, I guess it was the owner too, but it was like the entire front office. Ayton was probably just, that bridge was burned and just wanted out of there. Yeah, I agree though. Selling him, no matter what you think of Ayton, and I'm not very high on Ayton. I said myself, like, they can't actually contend until they trade Ayton because he doesn't want to be there. But trading him for Nurkic is insane, bro. It doesn't make sense to me. Like, it's
check out the Discord.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
But that's obvious if you watch it though, Bernie. Like, can the chat see that?
Nah, I put it up on. I said to you guys, but I also put it up on YouTube.
Okay, yeah. I hope people weren't actually saying he's an upgrade or defensive center. That's better fit. I saw people saying he's a floor spacer. He just started shooting threes, and he is not like, if Nurkic is shooting threes as a spacer, we will live. Like, what?
It's crazy, man. I mean, honestly, it's one of those times, and I hate to be this guy always, but it just shows how many people don't watch this stuff on a night in, night out basis. Nurkic is awful, man. He is terrible. I'm taking Mason Plumlee over this guy. Like, I don't even think that's crazy.
Mason is athletic. He can actually
made a joke earlier about Isaiah Jackson, Brad. They would have been just better straight up trading Ayton for him. 100%.
I truly believe that. Like, no trolling. I truly believe that.
So much better.
Drew Eubanks is the best center on this team right now.
Ayton already put a
Drew Eubanks is actually he signed for the Suns?
Yeah, he did. Yeah, he's the best center right now.
Shout out Derek Davidson for the subscription, man. Appreciate it.
What's up, Derek Davidson? Thanks for subscribing, dude. Welcome in. That's crazy. Drew Eubanks, he's better than Nurkic is right now.
Yep.
That's so nuts. Oh my god, I can't believe they did it. I'm gonna be straight up with you guys. This is like a D- for me. I kind of want to give it an F, but I feel really like that's just my bias speaking. Yeah. That being said, I'm gonna give it a D just because I like Nas Little. It's something, but they really gave up a starter for guys who shouldn't take shots for this team. So that's an L.
Yeah, I mean, the frustrating thing about this whole situation is, like, whatever you think about DeAndre Ayton, and Brad, you talked about this too, like, he's still your number 1 pick. You took him over Luka in that draft. Like, this is your guy. Like, you have to, you have to get something that's a little bit better in return. Like, I understand you got they probably needed some of those role players like a Nas Little or Keon Johnson to help the bench and, add some depth when they have to go and play this midseason tournament now too.
Mm-hmm.
But at the end of the day, you can't be trading away your number one pick for absolutely the most
Scraps.
mid. I mean, it's mid. Even
Yeah.
if you think that Nurkic is going to be really good, and I think part of me wants to say, yeah, he might be good, but we've seen ever since he had that really big injury, I think a couple years ago, he has not been the same player since. And you have no idea what his availability is going to be. And so if you don't know when Nurkic is going to be healthy and helping you out, because you're going to need his size to rebound. Because the issue that this team faced, and I would even say the Brooklyn Nets faced, is kind of repeating itself here again with Kevin Durant now moving to Phoenix, is now rebounding is going to be a huge issue, in my opinion. You get rid of a guy in Ayton who gives you the rebounding. Nurkic does too, but like I said, he gets hurt, so you don't know if he's going to be on the court. But in the playoff series, I mean, if you give these teams like the Lakers, like the Nuggets, any of these teams that are fighting for the number one seed or even fighting for that playoff for the NBA Finals spot, you're going to give these teams like second and third opportunities to get the ball back and put it up, or a kick out three. And so to me, that is kind of my concern with what the Suns are doing. Like, offensively, it's perfect, right? But you're going to have to get some stops. And we know that Devin Booker's not a stopper. We know that Bradley Beal is not a defensive stopper. And so now you're kind of left wondering, it's going to be up to Durant. It's going to be up to some of these other role players. I mean, I don't necessarily see the defensive side of things for the Suns going to help them out. And we've already seen this. To me, it's just like another Brooklyn, but just now in Phoenix with the Phoenix, what was that? Purple, red, orange, purple, and white, or black, or whatever color that they decide to go with their uniforms. To me, it's just Brooklyn 2.0. No rebounding.
I'd argue Brooklyn was better too because they had a facilitator with Harden, and the Suns don't have that.
Honestly, 100% better, Brad. I totally agree with you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
this team is going to get historic offensive numbers dropped on them on a nightly basis. I'm actually interested to see just if their offense, people are going to think I'm foolish for saying this. Their offense has to be as good as they think it is going to be for them to be competitive nightly, because their defense is going to be atrocious. Kevin Durant is not playing high-level defense at this point in his career. I'm sorry, he's been an above-average defender many times in his career. Sometimes I would go so far as saying an underrated career defender.
Ooh. That
being said, not anymore. It's not the same as it was. Devin Booker is not a stopper. They have no stoppers on this team. This team is going to get fried by the Lakers, Denver. I mean, I could name 10 teams off the top of my head that's going to put up 150 on these guys. So, and it's not even like Ayton was that much of a defensive, presence for this team, but Nurkic is negative 10.
Yeah.
It's astounding to me that they think this is actually going to help their team. That's the only reason I have to think that the chemistry was just so bad with Ayton.
Yeah.
That it's just we have to do this, because really it brings the question, why weren't they in on Porzingis? Why weren't they doing anything for guys like that were available for change? If you wanted to make this deal so bad, go get somebody that's good, man, or at least can give you something. That's crazy. Robert Williams is sitting there. Go look at anything besides just saying, let's get Nurkic. That's it.
Do you know what's kind of interesting is the Phoenix Suns are really to blame for the devaluing of DeAndre Ayton.
Yes.
They are for sure.
They did it.
It's just you make fun of him, you badmouth him, you do all this stuff. You reluctantly gave him the contract. You did anyway. So to me, it's why not just either you invest another year into him, or you just say forget it and try to get the most you can. But it's their fault why he was only worth. I mean, what can we even say that he's worth?
Not much, man.
Role
players,
not
much. Yeah.
Role players and an injury-prone center. Like, to me, that's probably one of the most disrespectful trades if you're a player. The number one pick, too, of all time. Like, this has to...
bro.
Like, I don't... Like, again, and Brad, I'm with you. Like, I've never been a big guy. I've never been big on Ayton. I think Pete and I have both been on the record on this channel just talking about how Luka should have been the number one pick in that draft.
Of course. Yeah, it's not even a question.
But, he's still your number one pick. He's still the guy that you thought was going to be the franchise changer. Act like he is at least worth something, right? I mean,
he's still like a, good for 15 and 15.
Yeah,
like
he's like an 18 and 12.
Yeah,
18 and 12. I mean, like, this guy is good. Like, he's not a horrible player. But man, it's astounding to me that, this team, I know they probably just want to get in there to get rid of Ayton, and probably the contracts worked out. Obviously, that's why they did the trade. But man, it's just crazy to me that the disrespect in terms of, how you did Ayton on the way out, it's crazy. And, it kind of goes to this, never get too comfortable, and never place your loyalty on a franchise when they can easily just get rid of you.
Kick you out the door for real.
Yep.
I'm happy for Ayton though. Like, it's going to be funny when he looks it's going to be funny when he looks much better as a player playing next to Scoot and Shaden and Simons.
Oh my God, he's going to be so much better. It's crazy.
Yeah, he's going to be happy. He's going to be playing free. I can't believe the Suns did this. I gave them a C. Just because the only reason I didn't give them an F, because Pete, I'm with you. Like, this Nurkic, terrible, but the only reason they didn't get an F is because they got Nasir Little, who they really needed. Their only wing was Keita Bates-Diop, I think. And
dude, I do love him though. But you're right. They need more backup though.
Yeah, and Nasir's young. He's athletic, so there's upside there. He might, become something. I think he was the 11th pick, so there's a lot of upside there.
Yeah.
And then the other reason would be, hopefully, possibly, maybe they can do something else. Like, they might have, because there's no way, they got worse today. They are a worse team right now than they were yesterday. So there's no way that they seriously are trying to win a championship with Nurkic, unless NBA GMs just, think in a different universe than we do.
They do.
Watch them sign Dwight Howard tomorrow.
That would be hilarious, and he would be a better center for that team right then.
100%, which makes it even more hilarious. He would be their best center the second he walked in there, but he should not. That should not be the case for any team right now.
Yeah. But I think, Nurkic's contract is tradable, so hopefully they do something else.
Did you guys, I don't know if you can see it on my screen, but this is, according to The Athletic, this is who they think is going to be the starters for the Suns.
So wild, dude. That team is trash.
Booker,
that's
Beal,
crazy.
Josh Okogie, Kevin Durant, and Yusuf Nurkic, with Goodwin, Allen, Gordon, Little, Watanabe, Eubanks, and Bol off the bench. Yeah.
I mean, imagine this team if Kevin Durant is out for a month. What is that? What is this team doing? I honestly think they're a below 500 team if Kevin Durant's not playing.
Wow.
I might be crazy to say that.
That's really spicy.
Their role
I don't
players
think so. They
under 500. I wouldn't say
they
under
have
500.
negative defense.
They have negative
If
defense.
KD is out,
but here's the thing: it's the regular.
Because he functions as an offside rim protector too, so that's their part of their defense.
But but this is the regular season, man. There's going to be teams that are just trying to obviously tank for whatever player they're trying to get. I think they're beating. Obviously, playoff wise, I think
the West got so much better. I don't know, Vern. I don't know. Think about how many teams are gonna just lick their lips with the chance to smoke Brad Beal and Booker. The Rockets could beat this team without KD.
I'm telling you,
that's so spicy. That is spicy.
Tari Eason, Dylan Brooks, Jabari Smith are putting this team in shackles, bro.
This is
shackles, I tell you.
Let them know, Brad. That's 100. Bernie, this team. Who is it that's stepping up? If KD is not on the court, this team is garbage, Bernie. I'm sorry. It's just, but we knew that, though. It shouldn't be crazy. They gave up everything for him. They gave up all their depth. There's nothing on this team.
I get that, but you think this team, without Kevin Durant, let's just say, Durant's hurt because he probably will be at some point.
Probably.
Sorry to say that, KD, but that's just reality.
It's gonna happen.
You think this team is on par with the Rockets? You think this team is on par with these other I would say teams that are trying to either grow a young team or trying to be in the lottery right now.
Bro, on my soul, if KD is out, they're not better than the Rockets. I promise you, they're not.
I 100% agree with you. Like, honestly, I'd go so far as to say if Kevin Durant's not playing for this team, it's glorified Wizards 2.0. Like, honestly, what's the difference between this team? Like, honestly, I'd even go a step further, Bernie. If Kevin Durant's not playing, I think Devin Booker and Bradley Beal complement each other less than John Wall and Bradley Beal did. That's a better combo than those guys. Like, they don't really, and that's the reason I hated the Beal trade in the first place. They didn't even, like, that didn't make sense for what they needed. And honestly, Bradley Beal is a glorified good stats, bad team guy anyway. We've never seen him play super duper well in a playoff game if he did not have John Wall on his team. And that was, what was that, 6 years ago at this point, it feels like, right? Yeah, I don't know, man. I think they're really, really bad. I think they're really, really bad. If they don't have Kevin Durant, it's super tough. It just goes to show again, like, Brad, you're not far off with, like, this is the Brooklyn Nets 2.0, really, right? Like, you couldn't have counted on Kyrie to carry you while Kevin Durant was out. It never happened, right? It's the same thing. Devin Booker is not.
And Kyrie and Harden are a better complement than Beal and Booker.
100%, 100%. And they had defense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like, because really, that's my ultimate thing, Bernie. This team.
Yeah.
They had Clax. Clax is amazing on deep. Yeah.
Kevin Durant somehow is probably like their best defender, if not maybe their second or third best defender. That should not be the case. It just shouldn't.
You know what's crazy is that Booker is the only player from that 2021 finals team.
Championship team,
to still be there. That's crazy.
Even the owner's different.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think I'd go. I don't think I would go as far as you guys and say that they would be like the worst team, but they're not a team that I'm just gonna say, wow. They, again, it's kind of, to me, it's like the 2004 Lakers. Like they brought in these other guys that were like world now, and like you brought in a really old Karl Malone, you brought in an old Gary Payton, you brought in some guys that could help you.
Yeah, they had Kobe and Shaq though, bro. What?
I'm not saying that like it's. I'm just saying it's similar in the sense that you thought you brought in all these other like older players, veterans to be like the guys to help you win a championship, but it's just not going to click or mesh well, because I do agree with you in that sense. I don't think that Booker and Beal's game really complement each other to a point where I think Booker is willing to go off ball and do a lot of those off ball movements. But
he's good off ball, but even then, like, I just feel like with both of them, you're not getting the best version of either one. So what's the point?
Yeah, but I don't think they're like I don't think they're on the Rockets level.
No, dude, I'm telling you, I think you're
Rockets
not only underrating. You're underrating the Rockets.
Yeah.
They're going to compete. I'm not saying that they won't, but I think that it's still a team that's young. They need to grow with Udoka. So I'm not saying that they're going to be. What I'm trying to say is that it's a young team trying to go into its older self rather than. I guess this is what I'm trying to say. Like, this is a team that's still growing. This Suns team, like, even with the players that they have, is a better team than the Rockets. Not saying that the Rockets are a bad team; they're just growing. They still.
I mean, if they have KD, I agree with that. But like, if I was to pitch it to you like this, okay, let's say they're playing starting lineup versus starting lineup. If KD is out, who is guarding Jabari Smith for this Suns team?
Mm-hmm.
And he's not, and Jabari Smith's not even all that. I'm starting low. Jabari Smith is like probably their second option. You'd have to put like, I don't know, Keita Bates-Diop. Okay, cool.
Yeah, it's him
Sengun,
or Nas Little, yeah.
Yeah, or Nas Little. Sengun, you want Nurkic guarding Sengun? He'll get fried. You want like Fred VanVleet? Fred VanVleet is small and he can't guard Beal or Booker, but he will fry them too because they can't guard him. And then Jalen Green, I could see Josh Okogie giving Jalen Green some trouble here or there, but like
Josh Green's not the one to use.
Jalen
Green, excuse me.
Yeah, but even then, he's still a good player, and
for sure,
your only defender that can bother him is Josh Okogie. So one switch and it's a green light for him. Like
but
I just don't see. And then Dylan Brooks is an amazing defender. He's going to put one of Beal or Booker in hell, or just make it really hard on them.
1,000%. People are so down on Dylan Brooks.
What's he shooting though?
I mean,
what's his shooting percentage looking like though in that series?
I mean,
Do you
under
think
Udoka, I don't think
Yeah, I was gonna
Udoka's gonna
say.
let him. Yeah, he's a hard ass. He's not
You,
going for any of that.
you think
And I mean, did
Udoka's
you
gonna
see
let
him
him
in
do
FIBA?
that?
It looks like he worked on his game and his jumper a lot more.
Let
Yeah.
me put it like this, Bernie. Let me ask you this question. So Kevin Durant is out with a sprained ankle, right?
Okay.
This Phoenix Suns team, everybody else is there for Phoenix. All right. They have a game against the Dallas Mavericks the way they're currently constructed. Who are you
Oh, the
picking in
Mavericks
that
are
game?
frying them. Oh my
Well,
god.
Yeah, I mean it's different though. We're comparing. You're saying we're comparing the Rockets to the Mavericks here, but I would pick
Dude, I think the Rockets are better than the Mavericks. The Mavericks are terrible, Bernie. They have two guys who don't play defense as their best players,
Oh,
and then the rest of the team isn't that good either. I'm
But-
using them as an example because they're in just as bad of a situation roster-wise.
yeah, but I would say I don't know. To me,
I wouldn't say they're terrible, but like
I
it's
mean,
a
they're
fair example. But like
they're not deep.
yeah, they're
here's
not
the thing though. I mean, I would say like let's compare. If it's regular season, there's no issue. Playoffs, I think there's a huge issue for the
I'm
Suns.
taking Mavericks. I'm taking
Yeah.
the Mavericks in the playoffs.
Yeah,
Yeah.
take the
There's a
Mavericks,
huge
for sure.
issue in the playoffs compared to the regular season because I think the regular season, we'll see how this in-season tournament goes.
Mhm.
I'm still a little skeptical just in terms of the. I think once it gets to like the semifinals and finals, it'll be better. But like I'm still skeptical of like the, because again we talked about it. Well, maybe we didn't talk about it before, but these teams don't really take the playoffs seriously until, or I would say basketball or even just fans in general don't take it seriously until Christmas time. So that to me is also another thing where I'm a little cautious of like, chastising the Phoenix Suns in a way that's like regular season, they're going to be terrible. They're going to be probably what happened to the Miami Heat actually. They're in that little first stint that they had, where it was a little rocky. They lost a lot of games and they finally clicked together. I'm not saying that this team is on the same level or even close, but I think that there will be some chemistry that will be built. But again, I don't think that they're the worst team, and I just think that other teams are going to try to tank. I think other teams maybe they might be better than them, but at the end of the day, I think they're just going to outscore teams, and that works in the regular season. It just doesn't work in the postseason.
I
I'm not
totally see your
Yeah,
point, and I
go,
agree
Brett.
with you in the sense that like the regular season is a grind, and these teams are going to be taking nights off. But the Suns have Beal, Booker, and Durant, so like we're talking about them compared to other contenders. Like if their best chance is, oh yeah, they beat the Utah Jazz 5 times in the season, like what are we doing here talking about them as a team? Like they should be shooting for the stars. They should be shooting for a championship. So I don't think getting by, tanking teams a couple times in the regular season should really be like their benchmark. Because when it comes to like a random night in January when things are heating up a little more against the Rockets, they might lose that game. And that's like a big red flag for that team.
I just think that you're missing my point, Bernie, on this one, and maybe it's just me. I'm probably not communicating it right. I'm not saying they're a terrible team. I'm just saying it's a house of cards, my guy. Like they are playing on borrowed time with their best player, and if their best player has anything even remotely wrong with him, they're cooked. They're cooked in the games that matter. I don't care if they play Charlotte and beat them. Who cares? They should beat them with just Devin Booker. Nobody on their team is even close to as good as Devin Booker is. I'm talking
LaMelo,
about.
but
Oh, come off
Yeah,
it. Come off
yeah,
it.
yeah.
LaMelo.
No LaMelo
I'm
slander
not
on this
hearing
channel.
LaMelo slander for real.
No.
Well, you guys chose the wrong third
I'm
mate
sending
here
you to the
'cause there's-
charge dungeon for that.
I'm sending slander LaMelo's way all day. That being said, I think we're also underrating the fact that they have a first-year coach with the team. It's not his first year coaching, but they
and
have
it's Frank Vogel. Oh my god.
they have a defensive
Hey, man, he
coach
won you a
who's never
championship.
coached this team. Oh my Bernie, come on.
Man.
You're a fence sitter, my guy. LeBron won Vogel a championship, brother.
Well,
I'm not trying
AD
to
won that
downplay-
championship. I will say that.
Well, LeBron was there too. Let's not disrespect
Anyone but Vogel. I'll give it to Kyle Kuzma before Vogel.
Yeah, give it to my guy.
Caruso too.
But even
Caruso,
then,
too.
I mean, Vogel's not a bad coach, but he's a defensive
Phil
coach.
Handy.
They
Give
don't
it to my
have
guy, Phil
He
defenders.
Handy.
does- Yeah, they don't have the personnel. It's kind of a
He's
weird
not-
fit.
It's a terrible fit. It's awful. We should get off the Suns, but I don't really understand anything of what they're doing. And if you ask me, basically it all boils down to new owner syndrome. This dude is just trying to do everything in his power he's playing 2K in real life. I mean, he
Yeah,
really is.
that's a good comparison. Yeah.
This man is living out his fantasies growing up as a Michigan State basketball player who rode the bench. No offense, Matt Ishbia.
Damn, man.
I never played anything.
Wow.
I never played anything. I couldn't even make it to the bench. So take it from me. I'm no good either, Matt Ishbia. That being said, I mean, I can't say I wouldn't do the same if I was a billionaire just throwing money away, but good Lord, man, do a little bit better. This is nightmare fuel.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think at the final grade I gave them, I think initially I gave them a C+, but I'm going to move mine to a C-. That's kind of my...
I said a D- I'm just going straight F. I'm just sending it. It's an F.
An F. Oh
Dang,
my goodness.
you're a strict teacher, man.
I'm sorry, man. Bad trade after bad trade will do that to you. They have no future either.
Are you
we
counting
don't
the
need to
KD
get
trade
into
as
that.
a bad trade?
I mean, if you consider the fact that he's a 34-year-old guy who just came off a torn Achilles 2 seasons ago and gets hurt every year now, it's not a great trade unless they win a championship. Like if he plays that for them for 2 years and they don't win anything, are people going to look back at it and say, "Great trade, you got KD"? Nobody's going to care. They didn't do anything. But that's yet to be seen. So I'm not going to say that's an awful trade. That's the best trade they've made of the 3, but they still gave so much away.
Yeah, they gave a lot away. I agree with that, man.
Yeah. Should we move on to the Portland Trail Blazers?
Let's do these Blazers quick. Let's get them.
All right.
Who wants to lead the way?
I can at least just reiterate kind of what they got in this trade, just to kind of help out viewers that may have missed this trade. So the Blazers, sorry, I should say, received Drew Holiday, DeAndre Ayton, Kamara, and this is in Spanish, so I do apologize. Or no, this is Portuguese. They received a 2029 first round pick and then also 2 pick swaps with the Bucks, so they can decide who decide on better picks there. Yeah, I mean, the thing I will say from this and just kind of the notes that I initially took and talked about here, I think it's a sigh of relief for the Portland Trail Blazers in terms of the saga's finally over. You know, this was something that was played out throughout the whole summertime of when is Lillard moving? Every week it seemed, every day it seemed like Lillard was moving. Miami, like there was just so much talk of him moving that I think now I would say the organization and really the young players and the players and the coach and staff can finally, kind of stop being questioned. I'm sure they did this trade before the media day, which I think is next week or
next week. Yeah.
Next week. Yeah. So I'm sure it's a sigh of relief that they don't really have to talk about the trade rumors anymore. I'm sure they'll get questions about, what do you think about Lillard getting traded? I'm sure that's going to be the annoying questions that they get. But at least it's a sense of they don't have to get asked like every single time. They're going to talk about it one time and then it's done. So I think from that perspective, it was good. I think it's now that you can focus on the younger guys. Like I said, you can focus on Simons, you can focus on Scoot, and Ayton can probably be included in that. I guess the thing that I'm left wondering is more so for Jeremy Grant and Drew Holiday. Like, are those 2 guys assets that they will trade to contending teams? And maybe that's something that I can ask you guys. Like, do you think that those 2 guys are getting traded, or do you think that they're there to kind of be the mentors and be the guys that oversee the younger players?
I think Drew gets traded,
yeah.
But Grant, I don't even know how they trade him because they just paid him a bunch of money. So I don't even know who has the cap space to take him, or what contender has the cap space for him.
Yeah, this is a mixed bag. I totally agree with you, Brad. They're definitely trading Drew Holiday. That was my first reaction to even seeing that was who they got. It's like, it seems like a pretty obvious, like, let's get young talent and a guy we can instantly turn around for like maybe 2 more firsts if we get really lucky, right? Like that would be a very lucky trade for them at this point with Drew, but it's not off the table depending on what contender really wants to come get him. And I'm actually interested if they could turn Drew into more young talent. I don't think that that's off the table either, right? If you think of like, we already heard Philly is interested in Drew. We already heard that, Boston is interested.
Yeah,
Boston,
isn't D'Lo like 26? something like that.
D'Lo? Yeah, I think he is. He's not that old. That's young talent. Go get him. We're gonna
Yeah,
get
please.
Ben Simmons. We're
D'Lo.
gonna get Ben Simmons,
Man.
D'Lo. We're getting them all right here.
D'Lo's highest.
Everybody comes to Portland.
His highest trade value was that what was that 2018 when he was like leading the charge for
The
the
Nets.
Brooklyn
It was
Nets.
his All-Star season. Yep.
Yeah.
His I think he was
He's
like
27. Okay.
a backup that year for
Replacement
All-Star.
also. Yeah.
He was like a fourth string replacement, and he made it that year. God made him a bag though. Good for him.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie to you guys. I love this trade for Portland. I think this is a great trade for them in the sense that really, no matter what you think of Ayton, and maybe this is controversial too. I guess I'll just keep him coming. I don't know, man. I'd take Ayton over Hero right now, especially in the circumstance that Portland is in. You know, I'm not saying necessarily straight up 1-to-1 DeAndre Ayton is a better player than Tyler Hero, but they've both seen the same level of success in terms of like the heights they've reached. They've got a lot of playoff experience, young dudes, but really more so than anything, as far as getting young talent, the fit makes way, way, way more sense with DeAndre Ayton than it ever did with Tyler Hero. So I really like this for them. And honestly, what piece was this team missing to put in terms of like, let's get one more young dude to grow with Scoot and Shaden Sharp, right? It's
and Shaden too.
a big center, you know, and Anthony Simons too. I shouldn't forget him. He's still like 23. But yeah, and I think those swaps are really interesting too, because you never know, man. Like Giannis, who knows how it goes with the Dame trade? We're all of the opinion it's probably going to go pretty well for them. But Dame is 34. 2030 comes around. That might be a really good pick for this Portland Trailblazers team. So I really like it, man. To get that much value out of one of the highest paying contracts in the whole league is like truly an accomplishment. Get an all-star, two all. Has DeAndre Ayton ever been an all-star? I don't think he has.
No.
I don't think he has. Get a certified all-star in Drew Holiday, though, and DeAndre Ayton, somebody you can build around. But like you said, Brad, I don't think they can get rid of Jeremy Grant. That's honestly, I bet they regret that pretty greatly, because I think that was a let's make Dame happy type of thing. And I am the biggest Jeremy Grant fan I know. I'll be honest with you guys. I have a lot of his basketball cards. Syracuse boy. That is a terrible contract. I think it's like 5 for $200 million for Jeremy Grant. That's rough. I don't see any team moving anybody for that right now. So Drew definitely, yeah. So let's talk real quick about that though. Like, who do you guys think are like great fits? Who makes sense for Drew? My first reaction was the Lakers, of course. I know I'm gonna just eat off of both of you guys right there in terms of that's probably who you guys would have said, but I really think the Lakers make a ton of sense for Drew Holiday, and I think they have the pieces necessary to get him too. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I mean, I think the Lakers make sense. I mean, more than sense, because they need a guard defender. Like right now, D'Lo can't do it. Caruso or Reeves can't do it.
He's kind of the perfect pairing with
can't
Reeves.
do it. Perfect pairing, yeah. And I mean, he's not going to be relied upon on that team to, take a bunch of shots and facilitate the offense. They'll really just use him in a Caruso role, and then here and there he can be an on-ball creator. So yeah, that team would be perfect for him, and so would the Clippers, I think, too. Both LA teams.
Ooh, that's a good one too. Yeah.
Yeah.
How about you, Bernie? Yeah. Let's hear the homer pick of the stream here, Bernie.
Yeah, we're gonna go with the Celtics. But I actually do think the Celtics are probably a good fit as well, just because I think that's kind of what's missing. I think Derek White is a great guard. I think he's more of a 2 guard in my opinion. Obviously, the offense is gonna be run through Tatum and Brown, but I just think that by adding a guy in Drew Holiday, you just give yourself a little bit more versatility defensively. You're able to like put him on a matchup, and really, it might help guys like Brogdon out a little bit recover from that injury he's recovering from, and maybe trade Brogdon for Drew. I don't know.
He's got he's got some hurt feelings.
Yeah, he's mad.
Yeah, he'd be going there.
Yeah, but I mean, I think that obviously, I'm gonna pick the Celtics, but I think another good fit too. I think, like you said, Brad, the Clippers are a good fit. When we thought about them bringing in John Wall, like the idea of John Wall is great, but I just think his body isn't what it once was. Now I think you bring in a guy in Drew Holiday who's a little bit younger, or maybe not even younger, but he has a little bit more better mileage on him, so I think he's a little bit better what they need. Like defensively, he's not going to take away all the shots from PG or Kawhi, if those guys ever play. But
Hey, they're apparently healthy.
Well, I mean, with the new rules, they have to be. So
Sure, yeah,
true.
No more sitting in
more sitting
in LA and chatting up with the Kardashians or the Jenners. But yeah, I mean, I do think that the Clippers could be another good fit for them.
I give you a sleeper one too. I actually think this would be an incredible fit, and I actually think that a lot of teams would be very, very unhappy with this trade.
The Heat.
I would love to see Denver get in there for Drew. And really, what fortune for Drew that would be to go from Giannis straight into to Jokic. That would be pretty incredible. But I think that would be such a good pairing with a lot of what their team has right now. Like you put him next to Jamal Murray, that's great balance. But not only that, I mean, what's the thing we always hear about Jokic? His biggest weakness is his defense. I mean, just go get another guy to put with it. Like Aaron Gordon is genuinely one of the better defenders in the league at this point. Put him with a really incredible perimeter guard in Drew. Man, that team is complete. Like they are very, very complete. So I don't know if they have the right pieces to go get him though. That's kind of the only reason I wouldn't jump on putting them in that conversation. I don't know if they have enough, but they do have his brother on the team. So I mean, that's something. You got some chemistry built in right from the jump.
Which Holiday do they have? Justin Holiday. Oh wow. Yeah. I did not know that. That's crazy. That's a good selling point.
Yeah, I mean, he had to deal with all the Antetokounmpo brothers. Now he can play with his own brother.
What about the Cavs? Could the Cavs be the spot for him?
Where's he going to fit?
I mean,
the interesting thing, Bernie, is, and we don't need to get into this too deeply, there's tons of rumblings about Mitchell not wanting to stay in Cleveland for very long. We don't need to get into that. That's a topic for another day. But I mean, if that's the case, maybe it's something, you start getting active, but I don't know how you do that with Garland and Mitchell. That's such a small, they couldn't bench. Who would even come off the bench of those three guys? They couldn't play all three of them.
No, I think one of them's moving. It's just which one you're
Who would it be? Would you move? I mean, Darius Garland, would you move him for Drew? I wouldn't do that.
I wouldn't. But
it's not a bad fit it's better balanced than Mitchell and Garland are, I would argue. I mean, that's pretty obvious though, right? It's just like you put a defender with an offensive guy who doesn't play defense really. I mean, another team, and this is an interesting one too, is Dallas. I mean, we were just talking about them. He's a much better fit with Luka than Kyrie is, in my opinion. So
I don't know. I don't like that fit for them.
It's just, I don't want to get too deep into it. I just think a lot of their roster is really bad, in terms of building around Luka. I don't want to make it sound like I just think they're all scrubs. The league is so deep. These dudes aren't scrubs, but it's not that different than what LeBron dealt with in his early career. This team isn't built around what Luka's strengths are, from my estimation, and Kyrie is not a very good fit with Luka.
I would say I think Philly's another good fit for him. Just go back to where you were drafted, I mean,
sure.
Harden doesn't want to be there, so they could facilitate something there. And
does Embiid want
under Nick Nurse? I mean, for now. For now.
What?
See,
oh, go ahead, Bernie.
No, I was just gonna say it's a conversation to start talking about. I mean, obviously not in this particular night because I think we could go on for 5 hours. But
I don't think Portland would be happier with any other team than Philly though. If it was something around a maxi for Drew Holiday type thing, I don't think they would ever do that. But I mean, that
would
probably
have to be Harden for sure.
Yeah, but then I don't think they'd do
Harden,
that. That would just
Harden would be so mad if he goes to. I told you guys already.
Portland.
He'd be so mad.
He's coming off the bench. His career would be pretty much.
Just in terms of the cities he likes to live in. I mean, Portland is completely not even close to what he wants.
Don't they have good strip clubs?
A lot more armpit hair than the other places he would usually be accustomed to.
Oh my god!
Have you ever gone up there to or I guess down there to see some of the
a lot more patchouli and armpit hair everywhere. That's where I don't think James is necessarily interested, but he's definitely. I mean,
it's there.
He's accustomed to the hair, right? So. All right, let's move on from that topic.
Oh my god. The Heat would also be a good fit, but
Yeah.
the
Bro,
Blazers are probably just
you
gonna
drag me
laugh
down
at Pat
that road.
Riley.
Yeah, no, I agree.
It's just, I feel like he's such a Heat type of signing though.
He's a
Like
Heat player, yeah.
just
Yeah,
like
there ain't
But I feel
no
like the
way.
Blazers at
misfit
this point, they
toy.
don't even want to do business with Pat Riley. Like they'll just
Yep.
laugh in his face.
You know, one of the interesting things I was thinking about too with this trade, just to kind of wrap it up and kind of circle back to last offseason, I actually think it's interesting how much this situation mirrors what happened with the Knicks and Mitchell, right? Like it seemed like the Knicks front office like really pushed their buttons, like Danny Ainge's buttons, to the point where he's just like, you know what? I don't care what you offer. I'm not doing anything with you.
Yeah.
Right. And that
Mhm.
really truly seems like what happened with this situation. I mean, from everything we've heard, it's crazy that that's back-to-back years and it's two Eastern Conference teams are going to be, you know, crying in their cereal tomorrow morning. Really.
Oh my
Yeah.
goodness.
I mean,
Yeah.
Pat Riley, he's got to be pretty upset about this one.
I mean,
I do want to say shout out to the Blazers for doing right by Dame and not trading him to the Raptors, because that would have been extremely foul and he didn't deserve that after 11 years of good service. Like, no
Yeah,
way.
He ended up in a better situation than he would have in Miami, in my opinion. Like, I guess that's
agree.
actually a great final question, Bernie. Do you think that this is a better situation for Dame than Miami was?
oh, 100%. You're playing with a top 2 player in the league right now in
Yep.
Giannis. You know, won a championship already, MVP of the league. I mean, what better fit than fitting next to an NBA championship, a guy that's already cemented himself in basketball lore and NBA lore history, than, you know, I think a team like Miami, like, again, they're kind of the bridesmaid, never the bride after LeBron left. I mean, that's kind of the perception, and that's kind of the thing that I get from the Miami Heat. And so I think a much better fit. I think the culture there is good too. Yeah, I mean, good pieces around Damian Lillard. I mean, what's not there to love about that? I mean, yes, I know Jimmy Butler's a gamer and he's a winner and he gets you to the finals, but
Not anymore.
not anymore. Not with that roster and the way that they've taken away some of his players.
Yeah, this is a rude awakening for that team.
Mm-hmm. Oh man, that was yeah,
Wild day.
yeah, just a wild day, and I'm sure it's gonna get even wilder next week when media day starts up. You know, we had Jimmy Butler talking about some tampering, which you know, he's kind of hinted at. We'll see if that gains any traction, just because I know that you know, this could have happened. But yeah, I mean, any kind of last words before we kind of sign out of here, because I know I'm on borrowed time with you guys, and I do appreciate you guys hopping on.
I think I've dealt enough hot takes for the night. I'm gonna hold the rest in.
Yeah, I'm done. I'm just happy that this finally happened, and hopefully we see some free agent signings now, like with all these teams.
Yeah, for sure. And hope you guys enjoyed today's episode of The Charge. Again, this is live stream. I'll also put out a video tomorrow with the same content that we just created here. It'll be out and available for you guys tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, so be on the lookout for that. And let us know in the comment section down below or in the live chat, as if you're still watching, what do you make of this trade? Who wins the trade? What are your grades for these teams? And does this instantly make the Bucks title contenders? Let me know in the comment section down below. But anyway, guys, that is going to do it here for The Charge. Like I said, thank you once again to Brad and Pete for hopping on and letting me borrow their time, because I know they're busy men. They got other things that they need to be doing, but I do appreciate you guys for hopping on. So I appreciate you guys.
Oh yeah, thanks for having us, man. This is fun.
Always. Anytime we get to talk basketball, it's always a pleasure.
For real.
And be on the lookout, because again, we're gonna be adding some new things here and there. Again, we're doing some things in the background, so hopefully you guys are in tune for that, and we'll announce it when we're ready. But again, we will be putting out videos more likely than these live streams. I might try to do live streams. I'm not going to promise anything, and we'll kind of go from there. But definitely look out for videos during the week. But anyway, guys, that's going to do it here for The Charge. Thank you once again for tuning in, and we'll catch everybody on the next episode. Hopefully nothing too crazy happens. Hopefully it happens after I'm home, but we'll see what happens from here on out. Anyway, guys, thank you once again for tuning in. Please remember to hit that like, share, and subscribe button if you're new to the channel. Again, all that stuff helps us out tremendously, and we'll see everybody on the next